The night I started working at the Hollow Pines Motel, I thought it would be like any other dead-end job. The place was run down, barely had any guests, and seemed perfect for someone like me who just wanted to get paid to sit around. But I quickly learned that the Hollow Pines wasn't just a normal motel. It had rules, strange rules, and they weren't optional. When I arrived for my first shift, the manager, a thin, jittery man named Earl, handed me a laminated sheet. It looked old, worn, like it had been passed down for years. The rules were typed in bold, and at the bottom, in shaky handwriting, someone had scribbled, follow them if you want to survive. Hashtag the rules 1. If a man checks in between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., give him room 13 and nothing else. Don't speak to him. Don't look him in the eyes, 2. If the phone rings and there's no one on the line, hang up immediately. Don't wait for a second call, 3. Never go into room 7 after midnight, no matter what you hear. 4. If a woman comes asking for her child after 1 a.m., tell her you haven't seen him and lock the office door. 5. If you hear someone knock at the front door and there's no one on the security cameras, don't answer it. 6. If the power goes out, light a candle and wait. Do not leave the office, 7. Between 3:33 a.m. and 4 a.m., whatever happens, stay in the back room. Even if someone is banging on the door, you do not open it, I laughed when I first read the list. Earl didn't smile. He just looked at me with eyes full of exhaustion and fear, as if he had seen things he couldn't explain. The rules are for your own good, he said, his voice trembling slightly. I didn't believe them at first either. The first few hours of my shift were uneventful. I sat behind the desk, scrolling through my phone, watching old TV shows, and occasionally checking in a guest or two. But then, at 2:25 a.m., the bell at the front desk rang. I looked up to see a man standing there, his face shadowed under the brim of a wide hat. His clothes were old-fashioned, like something from the 1940s. He didn't say a word, just stared at me with eyes that seemed too dark, too hollow. My heart pounded as I remembered the first rule. Room 13. Don't speak. Don't look him in the eyes, ***. With shaky hands, I handed him the key to room 13, my eyes glued to the floor. He took it and walked away, silent as a shadow. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd narrowly avoided something terrible. The rest of the night grew stranger. At 3:00 a.m., the phone rang. When I picked it up, there was no one on the other end, just silence. My pulse quickened. I hung up, resisting the urge to wait for a second ring, as per the rules. At 3:33 a.m., a loud banging erupted from the front door. The cameras showed nothing but empty parking lot. My heart raced, and I ran to the back room, locking the door behind me. The banging continued, louder, angrier. For the next 27 minutes, it felt like the door would break off its hinges. Then, at exactly 4 a.m., the noise stopped. Everything went quiet, and the air felt heavier, thicker. By the time my shift ended at dawn, I was exhausted and terrified. Earl was waiting for me, his eyes bloodshot, like he hadn't slept in years. "Now you understand," he said, his voice barely a whisper. I thought about quitting right then. But something about that place, its dark secrets, the rules that made no sense but somehow felt true, kept pulling me back. It was like the motel had its own heartbeat, its own life, and I was now a part of it. I worked the night shift at Hollow Pines for weeks, and every night, I followed the rules. I didn't speak to the man who came at 2 a.m. I didn't open the door when there was knocking but no one was on the cameras. I avoided room 7 like my life depended on it. And slowly, I began to realize, it did. You might think I'm crazy for staying, but the truth is, there's something darker waiting beyond the rules. The guests that come after midnight, the woman searching for her child, the man in room 13, they're not human. They're something else, something that doesn't belong in this world. Now, the only thing keeping me alive is following the rules. I returned the next night, even though every instinct in my body screamed at me to run far away from the Hollow Pines Motel. But I didn't. Something about that place had dug its claws into me, pulling me back. Maybe it was the strange mystery behind it all. Or maybe it was just the need for answers to what those things were that came in the dead of night. As soon as I entered the lobby, Earl was there again. He didn't say much, just handed me the keys and a freshly printed copy of the rules, same as before. The atmosphere was different tonight though, heavier somehow, like the motel was watching me. The first few hours went by as normal, if you could call it that. Then, at 2:00 a.m., the man with the brimmed hat returned. His figure emerged from the shadows like clockwork. I gave him the key to room 13, not saying a word, and once again, he disappeared down the hallway. But this time, something else happened. At 2:45 a.m., the phone rang again. The silence on the other end was deafening, almost as if something was holding its breath, waiting for me to break the rules and speak. I hung up immediately, but before I could let out a breath, I heard it, a faint knock coming from room 7. Rule 3. Never go into room 7 after midnight, no matter what you hear. The knocking was soft at first, but it grew louder, more insistent. I stayed behind the front desk, my heart racing, hands shaking. Then, I made a mistake. I glanced at the security camera feed, and my blood turned cold. There was a figure standing in front of room 7. Its back was to the camera, but it was tall, unnaturally tall, with long, bony arms hanging at its sides. Its head slowly tilted, as if listening. Then, it turned slightly, just enough for me to catch a glimpse of its face. My heart almost stopped. It didn't have eyes, just two deep, black holes where they should have been. It knew I was watching. At 3:33 a.m., I locked myself in the back room again, as the banging on the front door started once more. This time, however, it wasn't just the door. The walls shook, the lights flickered, and I could hear something scraping outside, something that sounded like claws dragging across the floor. But the scariest part? The whispers. They were louder now, more desperate, calling my name. Familiar voices. Voices that shouldn't have been there. One of them sounded like my mother. But she'd been dead for years. I pressed my hands against my ears, trying to block it all out, repeating the rules in my mind like a mantra. Stay in the back room. Don't open the door. Don't answer, asterisk asterisk. At 3:59 a.m., the noises stopped, like someone had flipped a switch. The motel went deathly quiet. By morning, I was a wreck. Earl found me sitting on the floor of the back room, my hands still trembling. He didn't ask what happened. He just nodded as if he knew. It gets worse before it gets better, he muttered before handing me another list, a new set of rules. This one was shorter but much more disturbing. Hashtag the new rules asterisk. 1. You've been marked. If you see your reflection move when you're not moving, break the mirror immediately, asterisk asterisk. 2. If you hear humming from room 7, you've got 24 hours to leave. After that, it's too late, asterisk asterisk. 3. The man in room 13 isn't human. Never, under any circumstance, let him out, asterisk asterisk. 4. On your last night, they will come for you. If you want to survive, you need to find the key to room 0, asterisk asterisk. Earl's words echoed in my head as I stared at the new rules. It gets worse before it gets better. I didn't know if I would make it through another night, but I had a sick feeling in my gut that the motel wouldn't let me leave, not yet. There were still too many questions. What was room 0, and more terrifyingly, What would happen on my last night? I guess I'll find out. The Hollow Pines Motel doesn't like to let its secrets go so easily.